Wait. Yes, it's recording. Okay, welcome everybody to the Quadrant Upstream Community Call. Quadrant Upstream, that's a pleonasm, no? That's like white snow. So the Quadrant Community Call of Tuesday, May the 14th, with a calendar where the first item is by Guy, and it's about defaults and overrides, another possible limitation found. Oh, that's kind of a sad title. Okay, take it away, Guy.
Yeah, I can take over. So I added that last week when it was fresh. We didn't have time to cover this last week. I think it was the last item in the agenda, so we kind of was brought to this one. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I mean, the description of the problem, and all I want to do is just raise attention to it, right? Because it was something that we failed to see at first in the design of the function override. I failed to see in the design of the function overrides. That kind of creates a weird situation for this particular use case of one root that has more than one gateway parent, and we attach policies like to all those three components, right? All those three resources. So let's say you have an inherited policy, could be auth policy or rate limit policy, attach it to both gateways that are parents of the root and to the root itself, right? And what the expected effective policy should be and what you actually get in the end, right? To be fair, this is kind of something that falls in a gray zone between what we called atomic policies and the merge strategy, right? But it's still worth mentioning, right? The way we implemented defaults and overrides at the atomic level.
One thing, Guy, sorry. Like when you say root, you mean root ROOT, right?
Yeah, HTTP root. Yeah.
Oh, HTTP route. Okay, sorry.
Or not. Yeah.
Okay, it's like it's not the domain. You're not talking the domain, the root domain.
Oh no, not root. No.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Thanks.
Oh yeah. So the HTTP root, when you attach a policy to it, and it has two gateway parents, and then you also attach policy to those gateway parents, right? Imagine those two gateway policies are of override kind, right? To make it to simplify, right? Or yeah. So if those are two override policies, which one would you expect to be the one enforced on the requests, going through that particular HTTP route? Well, it's kind of almost a rhetorical question, right? Because I think the answer would be, well, it depends from which gateway the traffic is coming from, right? And therefore, it also depends if you're attaching that route to the entirety of the gateway or only to a listener of that gateway. And if we keep, developing this, we will ultimately get to the point of whether the policy should be enforced to a specific host name or to all host names and so on, right? Anyway, we have this problem that right now what we are doing is we are treating two policies attached to different gateways if they share the same root as if they were two policies attached to the same gateway, effectively, right? At the same level. So we sort those policies by creation timestamp. We get the oldest one, and we honor only the oldest one. That goes against, the intuition of users, in my opinion. Users would probably expect that the traffic going through gateway B would be protected with the policy attached to gateway B if it's an override one, right? To deliver that, we would have, to deal with the fact that we have two policies that are both overriding the root, but they are overriding only partially the root, right? Depending on which gateway the traffic is going through. Anyway, it's kind of a complicated case, but it's not too much of an edge case, right? It's very well documented in Gateway API model. This situation of one HTTP root with two gateway parents.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Like, is it fair to say that if those two gateways exist, for example, to do Geo, the motivation for having two gateways is just to be closer to the client, but there are actually copies of each other.
I mean, I can definitely see use case for copies of each other, like declaring the same listener, the same host names. Although I think that would be probably be an edge case, right? Why would you be switching between those two gateways, right? Maybe if they look very differently implementation wise, and maybe right, but I can speculate with the reasons why one would that. But I think what I believe to be more feasible would be to completely disjoint gateways regarding the set of host names they declare, right? And for that, I do see use case, right? Maybe they are being managed by different people inside of the cluster, right? Maybe Craig has something to add here and some other use cases as well.
I was going to just point on to Thomas's. I think those two gateways would likely be on two different clusters. So maybe I'm coming late to this conversation because my last call finished late. But if I'm understanding correctly, we're talking about one HTTP route targeting two gateways.
Oh, in the same cluster, yes.
Right.
In the same cluster, right? So you would have no advantage there.
Thank you. Yes.
So I could see use cases like you have external and internal gateways.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was going to say
So
as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and you want to apply like additional security checks on the external one or something, or maybe strip off like special headers like X headers or something. Who knows what?
You likely have different host names in though, right?
Yeah, likely you would have different host names. But I forget what I said before. What Hiram said, I mean, that's the best example of a use case, right? You would definitely have gateways that are used only inside of the cluster, for example, precisely to enforce different policies, right? Compared to the ones that are receiving traffic from the outside. That makes total sense.
And then you would expect the traffic that goes to one of those gateways, that the policy that attaches to that one to do its thing and not the other one.
Yeah, and we're not doing
That's not what we're doing, right?
but that.
But if there's two different host names in each of the gateways, but it's still not, maybe I'm missing something there.
If we can guarantee that they are completely disjoint set of host names, right? Because when we say host names, can actually be a set of host names, including an infinite set of host names, right? With the wildcard. So then we may be able to tackle that, right? And to solve, just honor all the policies that are defined at the level of the gateways. We're not even doing that, right? Currently, we are picking one of them and the oldest one. That's what we're doing, right? So that is a flaw design.
Like why are we doing that? Is it just because we don't know where the traffic's coming from, which gateway?
If we get to the more nasty use cases, yes, ultimately that could happen, right? Because if you have one gateway that declares a superset of host names than another, right? Then which one can you really guarantee which one will be honored?
So okay, so let's think about the worst case, which is basically both gateways support the same host name. Yeah. And basically the difference is the external world is using public DNS and the internal world is using an internal DNS that gives you a different resolution for the gateway, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in that case, how is it that your filters will know which gateway the traffic came in through?
That's the problem. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So like, in my opinion, there could be a way to do it. It would require some Envoy hacks. Like we would need to configure each gateway to like set some kind of metadata or header.
Yeah.
To flow through the request to the filter, right?
I know where you're heading. Yeah, that's we learned that to be even a bigger of a headache, right? Especially while we are configuring Envoy through Istio. Right? Istio is very restrictive regarding this kind of stuff, right? We have, for example, our auth service that exposes an API that it expects exactly that, right? To be that in the input you can kind of shape, the what exactly you want to trigger inside by changing, a particular value in the input that happens not to be exposed by Istio. So we have an API that we ourselves cannot use because we have Istio in the middle, right? So getting that thing configured in an envoy can be quite tricky. Okay, I don't think we need to spend more time on that. I mean, as action items, obviously we need to document this, right? And if there are cases we can isolate and try to solve for them, we should do it for sure, right? I'll make sure to open issues, for those. I'm a bit afraid of having necessary to deal with the problem of sets and subsets, even if it's only for host names now, right? But we may have to. We don't really know what's going to be in the listeners of those gateways.
Yeah, I'd almost say it would be dangerous to like release support for like attaching policy to gateways if we really can't tell which gateway traffic is actually coming through. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. On the good side, though, there is one thing we do control, right? And I'm thinking again. We do configure those policies in the right gateway, because there's a difference between the gateway and the root, right? The root is just an abstraction. The gateway actually creates a workload, and that is the thing where we actually inject the configuration. So if we have two policies, the piece we are missing here is we need to create a configuration for all the policies that we have, and not ignore policies because they are not the oldest one, right? In this case, as I described. So we need to create a configuration for all the policies, as long as we target the right gateways. So traffic will go through one of the gateways. If the gateway is properly configured, we can trust we're going to activate the right policy. So the part we're failing is to get that gateway configured. You know what I mean?
Right. We're only configuring one right now.
We're only configuring one.
You had your hand up, Greg. You're happy again?
I'm struggling to fit it all in my head. No, I was just thinking about sorry, I'm just trying to absorb what Guy just said and also go back in my head to the thing that I was about to say. So the documenting part, I was going to suggest, do we want to maybe put some suggestions or what we feel are good practices down? As in, if you want to use Kuadrant for these things, you should define host names, or like, I'm wondering, like, what form do you want that documentation to say?
Yes, we can do that. I mean, to play safe, we could try to avoid, having multiple gateway parents, and only use them when they are really needed. That's one. And try to also add something for the cases where users cannot really work around that and do need, multiple gateway parents for the same route. And think on the use cases we cannot support as of today.
Right. And when you said if we were able to configure the gateway, by that you mean inject the WASM and configure it?
Yeah, and we're definitely able of configuring the gateway. We're not doing that, but we can configure the gateway. I'm just concerned about, and that's something I myself need to put some more thought about, right? I'm not sure about what I'm saying here. We need to think if there is some math that we need to do with the sets of hosts and I mean with the host names declared both in the gateways and in the routes, right? Because we need to configure both gateways where we have host names declared in both gateways, but also in the root. Anyway, that's the part that I need to maybe try it out.
I just feel there's got to be some kind of way to identify which gateway your filter's running in, like some environment variable or something that you can reach out and be able to tell which one you're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what I'm seeing now is we may not need to, right? Well, it depends. It depends. If they do share the same host name, you're right. Yeah, anyway, I need to put some more thought on this one, right? So I would park this for a while. I myself need to revisit it to run some scenarios, right? Um, that is the classical example of a complex topology that we usually do not cover in our happy path, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
definitely should.
Guy, could I make a suggestion? Which is maybe when you correlate your thoughts, put them into like a discussion in GitHub. That might be a good way to kind of not only share it wider with other people in other communities, but also generate more discussion within the team around that area.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. There are tons of things that are in my head right now. I'm also thinking on the status of the resources, right? Whether we are marketing now or not, I'm not so sure. So there are a bunch of things we need to information we need to collect before before jumping to ideas of how to approach, how to solve, or what to document. Then.
Thanks.
Sure.
Iguski. You want to do it in this order? First your point and then the demo together with Adam, or first the demo?
Yeah, I think so because that one I think is going to be shorter. I don't think we need to take any decision. It's just raising your attention and share some findings and also our experience in the past few weeks regarding Quadrant operator OLM. So some context. When we were releasing latest Quadrant operator release, we found some issues. And one of them, I'm talking about one of them, there were few of them. One of them was that some of the controllers were dying because some of the APIs were not present in the cluster. I'm talking about the operator release pipeline, the community operator release pipeline. They run our operators, and some of the dependencies were not, some of the CRDs were not in the cluster, and our operator was dying. So tests were failing. We were blocked. We did some patch, just check if the CRDs are there. We continue. If the CRDs are not there, don't die, don't do anything. So that allowed us to move on and continue with the release process. So the thing is that I was thinking on how would be the best approach instead of this hack, this patch. We first thing was the dependencies, the OLM dependencies. OLM allows you to define some dependencies in terms of operator or CRDs. So in order to install an operator, you can say, hey, that operator need to be there, which is, we are using that right now. The Quadrant operator depends on the limiter operator and the authoring operator. They need to be there. And if not there, OLM takes care of installing them beforehand. So the dependencies that were missing in the release pipeline test, I'm talking about, they were the gateway API CRDs and Istio CRDs. Okay, so they were not there. So I was thinking on adding those to the OLM, and we learned that you can add them, but those dependencies should be resolved within the OLM context, not in the cluster context. In other words, even if the CRDs and Istio is being installed in the cluster, if OLM cannot reach them in their catalog, the resolution fails and the operator cannot be installed. So that would be very nice if Istio and Gateway API could be installed using OLM. Yeah, I let you before I continue. Okay.
Yes, I see what you're saying about having Istio and other operators, all the operators in the OpenShift catalog. Maybe even ourselves, we could push them. I don't see why it necessarily have to be those people, right? But I'm also thinking, uh, if it's not OLM that is doing the wrong thing here, right? Because I wonder, those APIs are properly namespace, right? It's not like if you define one, it can be running into I don't know, you're being potentially ambiguous here, right? If you say this is the API version, this is the API group, you're talking about the same API, period, right? It's the same cluster. Shouldn't be the behavior shouldn't be different. I mean, if they are installed, then OLM should accept the
No,
requisite.
I agree with
I
you.
know, I know, I know. You're
I
saying,
didn't even try to push them, and I asked them, and they confirmed. And I didn't even try to tell them, "Hey, you are wrong." No, because I think, as you say, I think it's right.
you
The
think they are
wrong, they are right. The OLM is doing the right thing. I think it's us
okay.
putting this in the wrong place. So
Hmm.
first, things that I wanted to point out. First, Istio is not available using OLM. There are operators, but they are not being published in public catalog of OLM. We could expose them using custom catalogs, but not in public catalogs. Gateway API are not available. Gateway API CRDs are not available by are not provided by any operator in public catalogs. That that is a signal. This is telling us something as of today. As of today, using OLM is not convenient because either it's everybody in the same party or nobody is in the same party. So that's a signal. And then moving forward, and now that, as you know, and this is the, by the way, the precisely the next topic, we are working on the gateway API support. So taking into account, adding that to the environment, to the context, it doesn't make sense to add Istio API as a dependency. Gateway API, we could
You mean
argue.
Envoy gateway? You mean you don't mean
So
Gateway?
I mean Istio, adding
Yeah.
Istio API as a dependency for the Quadrant operator doesn't maybe doesn't make any sense because we are aiming to support both of them. So and we cannot require as a hard requirement Istio should be installed. So that doesn't make so. Yeah, so the way out of this, going back and this patch we had to do for the OLM release process, the way out, the best approach, in my opinion, is implement some kind of checks in the Query operator to check if the APIs are there. If not, report it. And if Istio APIs are not there, Istio, the controllers we have responsible for the Istio APIs, we are not, they are like disabled. The same for the Envoy gateway. And I was thinking of some kind of check in the end when the Quadrant CR is there, that if no Istio, no gateway API, or any other gateway API provider is found that we support, then we report it in the Quadrant status. Hey, I cannot proceed because there is no gateway API provider. Period. So that's my take on this. Abandoning the OLM dependencies, making, yeah, I'll give you the word in a second. Abandoning the OLM dependencies option, adding some logic in the Quadrant in a boot time. We check the APIs to enable, disable our controllers We have multiple controllers. Some of them don't have anything to do with Istio or anything like that, so they are not affected. Only those that need to read authorization policy, envoy filter, WASM plugin, things like that. We disable or enable according to the if the Istio is being installed or not. So in effect, making Istio optional. Our operator doesn't die if Istio is not there. Okay. Correct. Yeah.
I think it sounds like a reasonable option to report that in the Quadrant resource and say we're in a degraded state, or basically reporting that you're in a degraded state. I kind of wonder what would be useful within the Quadrant operator without, like, is there something useful that somebody could use or want to use without Istio being present? But I do think it's a reasonable option to at least report that in the Quadrant operator, not just crash and fail.
Is the Quadrant operator depends. There's a hard and first level dependency on gateway API provider. We need one, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So like before you fully boot up the operator, like the first line of main, you could attach to Cube and inspect the CRDs. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like before it even does anything else, that could be the first thing you do.
There is a working in progress that PR already open. I didn't as a review yet because it's too early. But if you check the codes, I can give you I can drop the link right now. But it's doing what you suggest, Iron.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't crash, right? And like once that goes in,
it doesn't do anything. If Istio is not there, it doesn't crash.
It's like a pre-flight check.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it does update the Quadrant resource, that'd be nice, so that people can like know what's going on, because maybe they won't be monitoring that, logs of shit.
That's the PRA we're working. This PR actually is doing something else other than doing Istio optional, which is thinking on onboarding Envoy Gateway. I'm doing a little refactor to have Istio like encapsulated in a single Golang package, let's say like this. So all until today, Istio was an assumption, so we didn't even care. Istio could be everywhere, and it's actually everywhere in the Golang structure. But I was thinking on moving everything related to Istio to some package, and this is the implementation when Istio is available, making room for onboarding Envoy Gateway, which will be all the specifics for Envoy Gateway will be in another package. So yeah, that's it for regarding the OLM dependencies. So yeah, last comment. As of today, I don't think OLM is doing any good for us. So I think this is kind of another signal to abandon for now OLM and go for other means of releasing Quadrant operator. As of today, again, I want to highlight, as of today, when we go to GA, that will be another discussion, because then there are some OLM features that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think the clear definition there was, if you need something to manage the life cycle of the operator, then this is what OLM is for. But if you're just looking to install it to try it out, this is a lot of complexity to take on.
Yeah, and if our partners, I'm going to call them partners, I'm talking about Gateway, Envoy Gateway, Istio, Gateway API CRDs, if they are not available using OLM because they are also in early stage or whatever reason, it's, again, if they are not in the same party, we cannot do anything. Well, we can push them to be there.
Yeah.
But
I think I think we were already kind of in agreement where like we'll keep building the catalog images, and we could provide some simplistic upstream, create the catalog image, create the subscription. If you have OLM installed, that should work.
Yeah.
But because that's all that
Yeah.
stuff's already there. But like, yeah, provide a different way for people to actually install it, like via customize or
I
potentially
agree.
via something
Yes.
like that.
I agree. Yes. Thomas, I see you talking, but you're muted.
Yes, I muted myself in the wrong window. Sorry. Yes, I said thank you. You were done, right?
Yes.
I have a question. In the second pull request, you're checking for specific Istio related things. Is that the way forward? That sounds like not very scalable. If we imagine we support 10 different things, then we want to check for certain features being available. Doesn't matter who does it, or am I trying to solve a different problem than you are solving that PR? You know what I mean? Like in CSS, you have like supports.
Can you share screen? I don't know what you're
I'm
referring
talking
to.
about the last PR, that one that you linked to in
Yes. And
you're checking for specific Istio related stuff in that PR. I
yes.
did it for 3 seconds, but
Yes.
and my question is that smart to do it? Like, shouldn't we be looking for if a certain capability is available instead of for some specific Istio thing or some specific Envoy Gateway thing or some specific, you know what I mean? No. Okay, never mind. I'll talk to you.
Let's offline. Let's discuss offline. I'm happy to discuss offline.
Okay, cool. Okay, then we go to your demo, right?
Not me. Adam is also involved. We kind of divide the job of working on the integration of Envoy Gateway with Envoy Gateway. He was working with the out policy, the implementation of out policy using Envoy Gateway, and I was working on the implementation of Envoy Gateway. Sorry, on the implementation of the relimit policy using Envoy Gateway. So I don't know, Adam. Do you want to go first? I can go first. I'm ready. Whatever. I leave you the option.
Sure. Up to you. Do you want to take it away, and I'll
please start, and I can. Just give me. Make sure you give me like 10 minutes, and it's
Sure.
It's 22. So if you can fit in 12 minutes, that will be nice.
Might be a
So
little bit short.
I have 10.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just sharing my screen. Can you see this okay here? Maybe I need to zoom in a little bit.
I can. Yeah.
I need some zooming. Yes, thanks.
Cool. So basically, I'm going to run through one of the user guides. So I've got the auth for app devs and platform engineers here. And this is the changes from the PR to enable auth policy on Envoy Gateway. So I've already gone through the process of doing the make local setup from this PR and deploy Kuadrant and the toy store. And export is my gateway URL. So I'm going to quickly show the curls to the toy store without an auth policy there. So that's to the cars endpoint. I got the dollars endpoint and the admin endpoint. And then I'm going to apply the auth policy to the same one from the guides you've probably seen before, where it's allowing the admins based on the API key, and I'll create the API keys as well, the I am regular user and the API key for the admin user. And then if I curl without an API key, I get the unauthorized. If I curl with I am regular user for the cars endpoints, I get 200. If I call with the I am regular user to the admin endpoint, and I hit forbidden, and then finally, if I use the I'm an admin to the admin endpoint, I get a 200 OK. So I'll quickly show you what resources we're creating. We've had a little bit of discussion today, me and Aguski, about some changes that we want to make. But yeah, so there's two different things that are being created. The first one is an Envoy gateway security policy. So you can see here we're configuring it with external auth, is defining a gRPC backend ref to the Auth Arena authorization service on 50051 port, and it's targeting our gateway. And we're also getting a reference grant created. And this allows this is telling Envoy Gateway that we're allowed to access this authorization service in the Kuadrant system namespace. So here we can see that this reference grant is created in the Kuadrant system namespace. It's allowing from the security policy to the Auth Arena authorization service. There's some slight caveats here in that we had to have two different froms. It was a little bit confusing to figure this out, and it's due to a bug that actually Aguski put a PR in to fix that was merged today. And the bug was that an HTTP route kind had to be present in the from group, and also the security policy group had to be present in the from fields. And the other thing that we discussed today is that this security policy that's configured, I've been targeting the gateway, even though the auth policy is targeting an HTTP route. And so we think that this should be actually targeting the route instead, so that we don't redirect all of the traffic from the gateway to the external authorization, only the traffic that's hitting the correct route. But yeah, I think that's most of what I wanted to show. Yeah, I guess.
Can you run again the requests?
Sure. Which one?
All of them. After, yeah, all of them. Yeah, 4 of them. So the first one
Yes,
should be unauthorized. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
unauthorized.
The second one should be accepted because you're a regular user and you are trying to access a regular user endpoint.
Mhm.
Okay. The third one, you are trying to access an admin being a regular user, so it should be rejected.
Yeah, forbidden.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one is as an admin user.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry. Yeah, I might have whizzed through those a bit faster.
Cool. Okay.
Any questions on this side before I hand over, or?
Does the security policy support targeting HTTP routes, or do they only support targeting gateways right now?
So that's something that we want to test. We were discussing that today, and yeah, I'm going to be checking that out ASAP. But yeah, that's the plan, is to change that. As far as we can tell, it does look like it's supposed to be able to target the different X routes or gateways. So yeah, we just need to test that it works as expected, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't test it, but I guess you cannot specify further with a finer grind than the HTTP route, like using route selectors or something like that. But we have in our policies, so it's either the entire route or the entire gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note because they had to make a call. They went for the simplest, I guess, the simplest way. Maybe later they add some finer grain selector, so I can select maybe if there is a name in the
Yeah.
in the HTTP route, maybe the security policy can target only those routes, specific routes. But for now, it's not. I was discussing this with Adam this morning. So in case we want to implement our route selectors, we will need to implement that. We can do still can do that, but in Authorino. We will need to add those rules in the auth config. So Authorino will say, hey, those are free routes, free endpoints, go on.
And
If they are
doing that, right? They're being done currently, right? If you check the alt config should
Oh.
include the conditions for
yeah,
those.
but we didn't implement that yet.
Oh, you mean so it's a completely different process to generate the alt config.
No, I mean we didn't implement that. I mean it's either all or nothing.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by we? You mean
Well, me, Adam, and me.
for Envoy gateway? So meaning that generating an alt config
For Envoy
for
Gateway,
alt gate
yes.
integration is completely separate from when we generate alt configs for Istio integration.
For well, no, actually, no. The auth config is the same. So if it's for Istio, then it's already
That's
done.
what I'm saying. When we do
Okay.
generate for Istio integration, we do
Okay, then you're right.
select the root
Yes.
selectors. So in the alt config we generate, we have add conditions, right, that respect the root selectors.
This is I was discussing this because I think that at the gateway level, if you know that this is a free route that doesn't need any authorization, you should not go to Authorino.
Agreed.
So this is the Istio authorization policy has this feature. You can say, hey, I want these rules to be externally authorized, but if not, you don't need to go to Authorino.
Save the actor hop, right? And by the way,
Yes.
root authorization policy does that without supporting targeting routes, just the same.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It only supports targeting gateways.
You should go to your presentation, Agus, otherwise you're not going to make it.
Okay. Yes. Let me share my screen. This one. I think it's this one. Okay. Okay, so it's more or less the same. Just before. Okay, so what I did is the first step that takes like 1 minute. So I save it. It's already done, which is deploying Envoy Gateway, deploying Kuadrant, deploying the Gateway API CRDs. I can show you how we deploy Envoy Gateway. It's using Helm install on some Docker image on the version, and that's how it works for now. So the Envoy Gateway, there is the Envoy Gateway system, and you have the controller, and we deploy. No, not this one. Sorry, bots. We have the Envoy Gateway, we have the controller, and we have the gateway, the Envoy, the real Envoy Gateway. So as Adam did, I'll go through the steps, see that relay meeting is happening, and then I'll go deep into a little detail on how this is implemented, and I'll tell you I can advance that this implementation is, I would say, very temporary. It's already, I mean, not it won't last for long because Envoy Gateway is already working on a new API for doing the WASM integration in a much clearer, a much simpler way. Before going to that, let's follow first. For enabling the WASM, as you know, relimiting is happens effectively using. Yeah, sure, Craig. Remind me later after the demo. As you know, the relimiting as Kuadrant implements happens using a WASM module in a WASM filter in Gateway. So that WASM filter calls limitador and does the relimiting thing. So we need to inject the Envoy, the WASM module, and we need Envoy Gateway's APIs to do that. So the first thing is to, this is an extension. This is not of Envoy Gateway's controller. This is not a regular thing. This is an extension. So the first thing to do, and I wanted to underline this, we need to enable this explicitly. It's not by in the default deployment, you cannot do this. So for enabling, those are the steps, but I will do it manually so you have more insight, more feeling, or what it needs to be done. So if we go to the config maps in the Envoy Gateway, this is how it looks like. It's a YAML, and if I edit it, we need to set here. It's called I don't want to introduce a typo, so I'm going to copy and paste. Extension APIs, enable Envoy policy, true. Okay, if I save this, then I restart the Envoy controller. Okay, if I didn't did anything, the Envoy controller is being restarted. Done. Okay, so let's request an instance of Kuadrant. This you have seen this demo of doing relimiting. It's pretty common. You have seen this multiple times. We create an HTTP route against the oops, sorry. We create an HTTP route for the toy store. The only thing is that the parent ref is Envoy Gateway in the Envoy Gateway system namespace. The rest is pretty common. We get access to the ingress gateway, so I can send requests from my local host, and then I start sending requests every second. There is no relimiting, so all of them should be 200. Okay. I'll keep this window. Maybe I can. Maybe I can do something like this, so you can see both. Okay. So now let's add relimiting. So I create a relimit policy targeting the HTTP route, and it will be 5 requests every 10 seconds. Okay. So if I create this, in the window below, we should see relimiting happening. Okay. So it's 5 requests every 10 seconds. Okay. So it works. Let's go for the insights and see how this is implemented. We only need one resource, one Envoy Gateway resource. It's called the Envoy Patch Policy, the one we enable for the controller in the beginning of the demo. So Envoy Patch Policy. So this is very similar to Istio's Envoy filter, which is basically patching the raw configuration of Envoy, and you will see it in a minute. So how should I start? Well, this is actually, well, it's here also, but we are introducing 3 patches. One, relimiting service cluster. We are telling Envoy where is limitador. Nice and readable, yes. This suffers from the same flaws that the Envoy filter, and that's why they are working on the new, much cleaner API that I will show you in a second. But give me, bear with me in showing this ugly thing, so we will give more value to the new API. So first patch, we need to tell Envoy where limitador is. So there is a cluster. It's here. It's a cluster type entry object, and it's telling a limitador is in this address and this port. Okay. Second patch, we need to tell where the WASM binary is located. Well, not really. We need to add a new cluster of the service where the binary is located. So for this POC, the binary is located in GitHub here. So this cluster, no, not this cluster, the last one, this cluster. Okay, Kuadrant relimiting WASM source. I'm saying, hey, there is a new cluster. I will call it raw GitHub user content, blah, blah, blah. And it's in TLS, so I need to specify some transport socket, and it's here. And then the third one is saying, hey, I want a WASM filter. And the WASM filter is this one. The name is Envoy Gateway System, blah, blah, blah. And what it does is to add a WASM filter of this type. This is a regular type of WASM filter for Envoy. This is where our Kuadrant configuration is injected. So all related to rate limit policies and HTTP routes and gateways and everything lies here. It's the type of listener because it goes in the listener section. It's a new filter added in the default chain, but this can be customized, but it's in the default filter chain and introduces, and it's in the first place. It goes to the first place. Okay, and this is it. So if we check the Envoy internal configuration, we will see something like that, very similar to that. What's the future? But it's not there yet. It's this. Let me put here. It's something like this. Oops, no, not here, like here. So, no, not here. Sorry. My bad. This one. Okay, this is a new API. Instead of dealing with patching with the Envoy configuration, and instead of Envoy patch policy, it's an Envoy extension policy. There are many extensions. One of them is WASM. It's a policy attachment. So this goes to a specific gateway. And the WASM filter, you get the binary from here, and everything else happens behind the scenes. We are about running over time. So any quick questions?
Add links to the notes of the meeting so people can find this kind of stuff.
Yes. Okay. Sure. Well,
Awesome demo, guys. I mean, I don't know if it's me, but I'm very excited about it. It's so obvious that you did not even mention in the beginning, but the fact that the overall set of steps, it's exactly the same that we would follow if it would be otherwise with Istio, I think is something worth mentioning. I mean, that's great.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you.
Sorry, just one last word. There are many things mentioning the integration with Envoy Gateway. They are working on improving this. Right now they are working. It's working in progress PR on the WASM binary being distributed as a Docker image. This is a working thing right now. We engaged with them for a few things. I already submitted 2 patches, so I can say I'm a contributor. And then there are pros and cons of using a gateway, Envoy Gateway. I guess there is more time in the future, so we can discuss more in detail. Now we are running out of time.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week. And you can always watch the recording on a bigger screen for me. Thank you.
I'll drop the links in the notes. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.